So the Bombers have been defeated by the Gold Coast Suns by 41 points at Marvel Stadium in a match that I think we will all have kind of mixed feelings about. 41 points does seem like a pretty big margin, and it is. It does seem like the match should have been a bit closer than that. We were right in the match at three-quarter time before fading away in the last quarter. We're going to talk all about the match and what it all means right now in this video. So the Gold Coast Suns have won this game by 7 goals. And look, it was a pretty good performance by Essendon, you'd have to say. It's just unfortunate that it blew out in that last quarter. At three-quarter time, I just take some notes while I'm at the game, and I didn't know who was going to win at three-quarter time. It was really 50-50. It felt, not only was it, sometimes the score can lie, sometimes the score can be, level and a team's dominating. The scores were pretty much level, 3 points in it at three-quarter time, and it legitimately felt that way. We had matched it with the Suns all through the first 3 quarters. It was basically goal for goal. It was a more or less goal for goal game. There was never more than, I don't think, any more than 15 points in it at any point in the first 3 quarters. The team would get a couple of goals up, the other team would pin them back. But the best part about the game, I thought, was our pressure, our forward pressure. You could really see the intensity, and I reckon the players sort of set themselves and really wanted to win. Maybe it was coming off the bye. I don't know what it was. And there was also a subtle change, I thought, in the way we were playing. So I want you guys who are listening to this video now, just let me know in the chat. I was at the game, and sometimes when you're at the game, you don't have the advantage of watching on television where you might get the commentary and you know exactly what's going on. But it felt to me as though we were going a lot more direct. Damien Hardwick actually mentioned this in his press conference. He said he was surprised with the way Essendon were playing, because we were playing, instead of that sort of high possession, low pressure game, we were playing a high intensity game, which was, I think it caught him a little bit by surprise, and he mentioned that in his press conference. So I thought that was noteworthy for the opposition coach to mention that. It certainly looked like we were going a lot more direct. We had, we had more kicks than a better proportion of kicks to handballs than the Gold Coast Suns have done. In recent weeks, we've had a lot more handballs, more handballs than, if not more handballs than kicks, but more handballs than we should have, almost a 1-to-1 ratio. We were at more of a 3-to-2 ratio today, which was much better. But it looked like when we got the ball, we were actually playing on quickly, or at least attempting to. And I thought the pressure was really, really good all over the ground. So in the first quarter, Hobbs actually kicked the first goal. Good to see him get on the board. He's been struggling a little bit lately, before Humphrey and Ethan Reid kicked goals for the Gold Coast. There wasn't a lot of action in the first probably 6-7 minutes. I don't think there was a score in this match for the first 7 minutes of the game. I thought it was a pretty good game still to watch. It was very end-to-end action. A lot of stuff was happening except on the scoreboard, if you like. Caddy then kicked a goal, followed by Angus Clark, and Ethan Reid from the Gold Coast ended up kicking his second goal, and it was an even game at the end of the first quarter. Setterfield was doing a pretty good job on Matt Rowell. Matt Rowell only had a couple of possessions in that first quarter. That's what we like about Setterfield. He's that one player that can play that defensive mid role where he can tag and also get a bit of the ball himself and do a pretty good job. And I thought he was one of our better players today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. We're up to 1,700 subscribers. I'd like to see if I can get it up to 2,000. About 2/3 of the people watching this video are not subscribed. It doesn't cost a cent. It only takes a second to click it. So if you appreciate the content that I'm providing, please consider subscribing to this channel. I would really, really appreciate it. So I usually take footage of the game with my camera when I'm at the ground. I was in the top deck in the first half. I actually moved to sit with some friends in the second half, and we were sitting behind Dermot Brereton, which was good, and I got some footage of him politely applauding when Archer May kicked a couple of goals. So I'll just show you that footage when it comes up. So just a bit of a shout out to Zach Merrett and Sam Durham. They were both absolutely magnificent, easily our 2 best midfielders. They had 35 contested possessions between them. Zach Merrett had 17 contested possessions. Sam Durham had 18 contested possessions. No one else had more than 10. Isaac Kako, actually, perhaps surprisingly, had the third most with 10. So Zach Merrett, just an amazing game. 159 Supercoach points, champion data points. Sam Durham as well. looked like to me as though that 2-week suspension might have even been, you can't really say a positive because obviously you want him out there, but he did have that little ankle niggle, and I thought he was just a monster in the midfield, and it was so good to have him back. Hopefully Jai Caldwell is all right. He came off with a bit of a rolled ankle in the last quarter, and we certainly need him fit and firing. So the second quarter, once again, much like the first in terms of the intensity and the attack on the ball. Joel Jeffrey and King for the Gold Coast got the first couple of goals. Caddy, who had a really good game for us, kicked his second goal before Ethan Reid kicked his third for the Gold Coast. Wright and Caddy again. Caddy ended up getting 3 goals in the first half. Got goals before Ben King was able to kick the last goal. So we have a nasty habit of letting in late goals. Obviously, there was a very, very late goal last time we played Gold Coast with Mac Andrew kicking the winning goal. But they got a goal at the end of the first quarter, end of the second quarter, and even at the end of the third quarter. So it's just something we need to really just fix up. We need to just close down the game in the last couple of minutes. Red time, they call it, time on. You can call it whatever you want. But we are, I think, one of the worst teams in the competition at letting in late goals in time on. And we did it against the Gold Coast again. And it was really annoying because we had a little bit of momentum, I thought. And just to let that last goal in before the end of the half was just kind of annoying. And it just would have been good just to have that extra goal break. But it just kept Gold Coast in touch. Third quarter, once again, very, very similar to the first couple. I just thought the intensity, attack on the ball was there from the get-go. Buderick kicked the first goal for the Gold Coast Suns. Kako replied shortly after that with Essendon's first goal of the third quarter. Ned Moyle and Anderson kicked goals before Archer May had a little bit of probably a 5-minute cameo where he kicked 3 consecutive goals. You can see me sitting behind Dermot there. Dermot sort of politely applauding an Essendon goal. I think he was pretty happy to see his stepson kick a goal there. Walter kicked a goal before Jai Caldwell finished off with a goal to the Bombers, and the Bombers were 3 points down, and the game was very much up for grabs. But Gold Coast really did assert their authority in that final quarter. It was 7-0, and what was really probably most frustrating was the time in possession. The time in possession was quite extraordinary in that last quarter. It was 63% to 26%. Normally, time in possession, it's about 40% to each team, and 20% no one has it. The ball's in dispute. So they had it 63% to 26%. So Hardwick obviously just sent a message to his team, look, put the foot down. You're playing on a team you should beat, and their midfield really, really dominated, and their long kicking game as well. I love actually the way Gold Coast play. They play much the same way that Richmond used to play when Hardwick coached there. They usually handball forward, right, not sideways or to the back. They kick it long, and they were able to just demolish us in the last quarter, kicking 7-0, and we just couldn't go with them. It didn't help that they kicked with unnerving accuracy, which is always frustrating, but in the end of the day, they deserved their win. I thought we probably could have been a little bit closer. It probably felt like a 3-goal loss, like a 3-4-goal loss in terms of our effort, and it just blew out, as sometimes these matches often do. It's just the way it goes sometimes. But at the end of the day, I thought the effort was pretty much there, and you couldn't really fault it. It was just unfortunate that it all collapsed in the last term. Merrett was our best player. He had the 40 possessions and was just easily our best player. And, he'd probably had a couple of down weeks, so it was good to see him back. I thought Setterfield did a pretty good job, had 22 possessions, did a pretty good job on Rowell. Kept him pretty quiet. Rowell only had the 15 possessions, so Setterfield probably won that duel. Durham was really good, 27 possessions, 18 contested possessions. Caldwell only had the 15 possessions, but was very efficient, didn't make any mistakes. 7 contested possessions, kicked a goal. Unfortunately, went off with a bit of an ankle roll. Hopefully, he's going to be okay. Roberts I thought was pretty solid, had 20 possessions, and I thought he had a good, solid game. Kako had one of his better games for Essendon. 17 possessions, 10 contested possessions, and a goal. The best I could describe Kako's game was busy He was kind of everywhere. He wasn't necessarily looking dangerous, but I thought his effort and ability to chase and everything like that. And I thought the forward line generally was very good defensively. All right, 16 tackles in the forward 50 we had, which was a season high. We've never really had that before this season. We've often had one or two in some games, or even less. Sometimes just a couple for the game. We had 16 tackles in the forward 50, which was really good. Caddy had a good game, had the 12 possessions, kicked 3 goals. Ridley was pretty solid in his first game back. He had 18 possessions and a couple of intercepts. Dersma, there was a bit of a question mark on Dersma at the start of the game. He had some back spasms, but he was able to complete the game, and he didn't play too bad, had the 16 possessions. Hobbs had a better game, 19 possessions and kicked a goal. A little bit of a question mark over him the last couple of weeks. He was dropped to the reserves a couple of weeks ago, so he'll probably hold his spot after today's game. Martin tended to play more off half-back again today. I'd rather see him play forward. I sound like a broken record. Whenever he plays forward, he kicks goals, and we average 5 more goals per 80 minutes when he does play anywhere other than the back line. He was pretty solid today, but he's the kind of player, look, he's our only versatile midfielder along with Merrett who can really play alternate positions. So I understand why they do it, but I'd just rather see him forward. He had a pretty good game, but it's not that difficult to have a good game across halfback in my opinion. Goldstein was, did the job. He was up against the younger ruckman in Moyle. Both of them pretty much shared hitouts. Moyle had 35 hitouts. Goldstein had 31. And Goldstein had just the 9 possessions and held the fort down there. Peter Wright had just the 5 kicks and kicked a goal. Angus Clark, I thought, was pretty solid as well. Kicked a goal. Archer May, obviously his best game for the club, kicked 2 goals against Fremantle, kicked 3 goals in this game, 2 big goals from outside 50, and also a nice little one off the ground. So he's going to be a really good player for us with his huge physique. I can only imagine how much bigger he's going to get once he, gets to the age of, 20, 21. He looks like a 25-year-old now with his physique. Zach Johnson had 80 champion data points and 16 possessions. Didn't really notice him. I thought, just watching the game at the ground, I thought he was serviceable without being spectacular. McGrath had one of his quieter games for the year, just the 12 possessions. Laverde was, I guess, a typical sort of game from Laverde. I don't remember him making too many, blunders down there. Same with Blackiston, who is doing an admirable job playing in the back line, a position that he's not familiar with and is filling in, has done so for 3 weeks now, at least until, we get Reid or Mackay back, which doesn't look likely. So Blackiston may be playing there for the rest of the season. At least that's the way it seems at the moment, because he seems like he's sort of established himself in the starting 18. Perkins got subbed off, and his position in the team would have to be in jeopardy now. He just doesn't get enough of the ball and doesn't do enough. He just flashes in and out of the game here and there, and he didn't have an impact on the game at all. Lawal, I thought, was really good in the first half. He had 10 possessions overall for the game. I thought just some nice things, some silky things. I thought his effort, his running, his chase, his tackling fell away a little bit in the second half, but I thought his first half was very good. Pryor just had the 6 possessions and didn't really have an impact on the game, and Gresham was the sub and had no impact on the game with just the 1 possession. Some of the stats out of the game were a little bit more direct today. We had less disposals. I think this is generally a good thing in terms of the fact that we're not over-possessing the ball. We had the 341 disposals to the Gold Coast 367, and we had 190 kicks to 151 handballs, which is a better proportion of kicks to handballs than what we have been doing. Stoppages, we won the centre clearances, but Gold Coast won the stoppage clearances. Gold Coast won stoppage clearances 28-22. We won centre clearances 13-10. We sort of kept their midfielders in check for much of the game, but we just couldn't keep it down for the full 4 quarters. That was unfortunate, but we did a reasonable job, at least for the first 3 in that part of the game. Contested possessions compared to uncontested possessions. Contested possessions were pretty even. Uncontested possessions, we had 202. Gold Coast had 232. So you can see a little bit of a change perhaps in how we approached this game. We weren't chipping it around as much, and I thought that was, a good sign. And one thing that I was very pleased about was the fact that we had 16 tackles inside 50 to the Gold Coast's 4. It's a relatively minor stat in some respects, but it does show a lot of, it's a guide to how much effort I think the forwards were putting on to try to keep the ball in there, and I thought that was a good sign for us. So that is the game. What did you guys think of the game? I thought it was a passable performance from Essendon. Disappointing in some respects at the end. I really thought that at three-quarter time we were every chance to win the game. Is there anything I've missed in the game? Let me know, you guys, if there's anything that you noticed, perhaps while watching on TV, or maybe you were at the ground. Were you at the game? Did you enjoy it? What did you think? Let me know everything you thought about the game. I'm going to leave it there, everybody. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the first 3 quarters anyway. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Have a great day. And as always, go Bombers.
Watch the ball.